Welcome to video 6 of Building Bridges, where we cover chapter 6, titled The Gap. In chapter 6, I talk about the gap, and there's a lot of gaps. Not just gaps in me. I even shared during the chapter that I saw gaps in me when I'm judging people on Facebook as I scroll down. But gaps in how we build bridges, gaps where we need to build bridges, and gaps where the church, the Christian community, is just really stinking. There's so many marginalized people in the world, and I really want to be specific and talk about a couple groups of people that I feel are marginalized. I feel like a lot of single parents are marginalized. I feel like those who have been divorced or going through a divorce have been marginalized. I feel like people that identify as someone in the LGBT community, maybe gender fluid, they feel marginalized. I feel like people with addictions or tattoos have been marginalized. Certain races in certain churches have been marginalized. And today I share a story, in chapter 6 I share a story about my friend Lynn. Lynn was coming out of state visiting us, and as I was getting ready for church, Lynn came into the bathroom and just started crying. Crying because she was scared to come to our church. Now, she's never been to our church before because she lives out of state. And the last church she was part of, she was on the church leadership, and she was kicked off when she came forward and identified herself as a homosexual. And I don't know all the details of the story, okay? All I know is how that church made Lynn feel. Now, I want to read this quote to you because it's a very powerful quote by Maya Angelou. It said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And now I don't know all the details of the way it all went down, but I do know how that church made Lynn feel, which is point number 1. People will not forget how you made them feel. If you've made someone feel marginalized or loved or special or like trash, people will not forget the way you made them feel. And effective bridge builders will make people feel safe, which is point 2. Be a safe place. You know, I share later on in the story about another person who I've known for years, and through a series of building our relationship, we started chatting online, and she chatted, and I did not prefer to chat online. I felt there's a lot more effective ways to communicate, but she's a younger woman, and she just wanted to share some things, and in fact, we never chat online anymore. In fact, our friendship has grown so deep that we're phone, text, and whenever we're in the same town, we live out of state, face to face. So, but she shared that she struggled with pornography. She struggled with homosexuality, and she just really needed to share some things. And I just wanted to be a safe place. And you know, not immediately, but eventually she found a church that she liked, where she was safe. She got into a very close group of women that were in her same age range. She got baptized. And today, as I'm recording this video, she's actually in seminary. And you know, I don't want to take any credit whatsoever. I just want to say that I've been a bridge builder, and I've loved her. I tried to make her feel special. I tried to be a safe place. She made all the choices. Jesus is the one who changes. We just build bridges and point people to Jesus. Jesus is the only one who's able to change a heart. So point 1 is people won't forget the way you make them feel. Point 2 is be a safe place. Point 3 is I believe we should meet people where they're at. And now, I don't think there's anything wrong if you go to a church to invite people to your church. I think that's beautiful. But I also feel like there's some gaps where some people are marginalized, where you're going to have to go and meet them where they're at. Now, I met that woman, the last woman, Marie, that I shared about. I met her mostly online. Now, we met at different functions because we have circles of friends that are similar. And we became good friends, and I just love her so dearly. But where she was comfortable at the time was chatting online. Now, as a wife, as a mom, as a small business owner, as a volunteer, as a friend, you know, chatting online was not convenient for me. It just wasn't. I just feel like there's more convenient ways we could communicate, but that was her preference. Which brings me to point number 4. Something that my friend Brad Russell said in a sermon I heard years and years ago that just keeps resonating with me, and it's this: compromise your method but not your message. So I compromised my method. I'd meet her online and chat, but I would not compromise my message. And my message is Jesus and love. That's my message. An imperfect display of Jesus and love. And as we close out today and this video, I just really want to encourage you that there's a lot of people out there that would consider a relationship with Jesus if we would just lay down some of our comforts and go meet them where they're at. I share a quick little tidbit of a woman I met in an airport when we were traveling internationally, and there was a young woman who was reading a book that I had just read with my book club. And it was a young, it's called youth fiction. I don't normally read that type of genre, but because of my book club was reading it, I read it. And I was able to bridge with her using the bridge of commonality. There was a gap because of our age difference, because I'm an old girl, old girl. And this young woman, this teenager, was reading a book, and I could build off of one commonality. So effective bridge builders compromise the method, but not the message of how they'll build. If we just come with, that it says in 1 John, blah, 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 and you start reading and they're like, I don't know that reference point. But I do know the reference point of this book series, and we can build off that. We can build off the commonality of maybe a fun memory. We can build off the commonality of that we both grew up in the same neighborhood, or you just find something to build off of. I share a little bit about my friend Eddie, who's a Vietnam veteran who I served on my church board with. He does not like the loud music at our old church. He did not like it. And he didn't change churches. He was active in the children's ministry, active serving in the vision of the leadership. He would not change churches just because he didn't like the preference of the louder music. He just wore earplugs during service. Not that he didn't like the worship, he just found it too loud. He compromised his method of worshiping, but not his message of love and service. So today, as we close out, I want to leave you with this question. Where do you see gaps? It may be in yourself. It may be in the Christian community. It may be how we're reaching people or not reaching people, more importantly. You see, I've heard this analogy, and I think it's a really interesting analogy, that the church is like a hospital where all hurting people should be allowed admittance in. And I see a gap where some people aren't allowed in to the hospital for whatever reason. So the question I want to leave and close this video out with today is, where specifically do you see gaps? Okay, I'll see you next time.